Hi everybody, I'm Ryan. Today we're going to look at Mono Red Aggro in Standard, which is high tier 2, low tier 1. It is an excellent deck in Standard at the moment. I'd also like to draw your attention and have you ignore the Lego mess behind me. I'm recording this video shortly after Christmas and I have not stopped doing Legos with my son. But with this Mono Red Aggro deck, what we're going to do is look at the overall strategy of the deck, the card choices of the deck, and basically how to play the deck. So let's jump into it. So this is a stock Mono Red Aggro list in Standard. What this deck is attempting to do is play hyper aggressive creatures, get some mouse synergies that we'll talk about here in a second, pump their creatures up, and then after your opponent deals with the creatures, then be able to burn face and get the rest of the way there. There's a lot of like small weird nuances with this deck that I'm going to attempt to mention, but really this is an aggro deck. Like you're trying to defeat your opponent and as fast as possible. So we'll start with the lands, playing a bunch of mountains, just so we can cast all of our spells. And for Rockface Village, Rockface Village is really sweet in a lot of ways. Basically, you can only spend red mana to cast creature spells, or it produces a waste mana. You can pay red and tap it. Tap target lizard, mouse, otter, or raccoon you control, get +1/+0 and gain haste until end of turn, but you can activate this only as a sorcery. The reason this is good isn't necessarily to give +1/+0 and haste. Well, that's pretty nice on like Hired Claw or Heartfire Hero or Manifold Mouse or whatever, but is to trigger Valiant in Heartfire Hero and Emberheart Challenger. Valiant is like Heroic, except it counts for abilities as well, and you can only do it once per turn. So if you use Rockface Village to target Heartfire Hero or Emberheart Challenger, it triggers that Valiant ability, and being able to do that with a land without investing a spell like Monstrous Rage is really, really nice. We're playing 4 Burst Lightning, be able to get other small creatures and cheap creatures out of the way, but also a way to burn face to get that last bit of damage. We're playing 4 Heartfire Hero. It is a mouse soldier. The mouse part is really important. It's a 1-mana 1/1 with Valiant. When it becomes a target of spell or ability you control for the first time each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on it. When it dies, it deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. So once it's been pumped up, it's pretty hard to block. Again, when you target things either with Monstrous Rage or Rockface Village or Manifold Mouse or anything like that, a Heartfire Hero gets that Valiant trigger and just grows over time, which is really, really sweet. We're playing Hired Claw. Hired Claw is something that kind of passed me by when it got printed, but it plays much better than it reads. It is a 1-mana 1/2 Lizard Mercenary. So again, you can target with Rockface Village, but it doesn't have Valiant. Whenever you attack with 1 or more lizards, Hired Claw deals 1 damage to target opponent. You can pay 2 mana to put a +1/+1 counter on Hired Claw. Activate only if an opponent lost life this turn and only once each turn. So it's a way to dump mana. It's a way to deal damage. It's a solid 1-drop. It's effectively a 2-power 1-drop. It's just the damage is separated. And if you have extra mana, it can grow over time, which is really solid. We're playing 4 Monastery Swiftspear. It is a 1-mana 1/2 with haste and prowess. It is modern playable, so of course it's standard playable. It deals damage quick, deals damage effectively, and we have a lot of non-creature spells to be able to trigger that prowess. We're playing 4 Monstrous Rage, which might be the best card in the deck. Is a 1-mana instant. Target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Create a monster roll token attached to it. That monster roll token gives +1/+1 and trample. So the turn this is played, it effectively gives +3/+1 and trample, which is great. Being able to protect any of these creatures, being able to like capitalize on the double strike from Manifold Mouse, being able to like trample over when people think that they're able to like block effectively. It's especially good on Screaming Nemesis. When people block with it, think they're going to kill it, and then they don't kill it, but also Screaming Nemesis triggers, which is disgusting. We'll talk about that in just a second. But also the monster roll token stays on the creature. It is a absolute disgusting card. Also triggers Valiant, which is pretty relevant as well. Speaking of Valiant, the other Valiant card in our deck, the Emberheart Challenger, is a 2-mana 2/2 with haste and prowess. Already really solid and really aggressive, but also is Valiant, where when it becomes a target of spell or ability you control for the first time each turn, exile the top card of your library. Until end of turn, you may play that card. So this is a way for us to get card advantage. We can use Monstrous Rage, we can use Rockface Village, we can use Manifold Mouse to target Emberheart Challenger and be able to dig through our deck while being super, super aggressive. Played 4 Lightning Strike, same role as Burst Lightning, just 1 more mana, sometimes better, sometimes worse. Playing 4 Manifold Mouse, and this is where a lot of the nuances with the deck sort of come in. It's a 2-mana 1/2, but it has Offspring for an additional 2 mana, so you can pay 4 mana for this card to also have a 1/1 token that's a copy of Manifold Mouse, or you can pay 2 mana for it just to be a 1/2. And at the beginning of combat in your turn, target mouse you control gains your choice of Double Strike or Trample till end of turn. Almost always you're going to be selecting Double Strike. So this is already really good in an aggressive deck, especially on top of a Heartfire hero that's really big, or a prowessed up guy, Hard Claw, maybe something we Monstrous Rage, a Double Striker. Like, those are kind of obvious synergies. But also remember, this is an ability, so it triggers Valiant on Emberheart Challenger and Heartfire hero. Manifold Mouse can have you draw an additional card every single turn if you just target Emberheart Challenger with it. It can make Heartfire hero get bigger every single turn, and also have Double Strike, so it makes it even harder to block every single turn if they just sit there. So it makes your other mouse creatures a must answer, or Manifold Mouse to must answer, which if you pay 4 mana for it, it's really hard to must answer 2 cards. The card is absolutely excellent. A really common one too is Heartfire hero into Manifold Mouse, target Heartfire hero, trigger Valiant, swing for 4, which is crazy. It's crazy good. Screaming Nemesis is a 3 mana 3/3 with haste. Whenever it's dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any other target. If a player is dealt damage this way, they can't gain life for the rest of the game. That last little bit, you know, it's a Boros Reckoner with haste and easier to cast. Besides the can't gain life for the rest of the game. That is disgusting, which means you can really aggressively attack with it, especially if your opponents have really big creatures, because if they have that demon that's 6/6 and you jam with it, they block, your thing dies, but also you're dealing 6 damage to not only your opponent, but any other target. It could be a creature, a planeswalker, or anything that is really, really scary. And if you deal it to the opponent, they can't gain life for the rest of the game, which is exactly what the Mono Red deck wants. Something very relevant is that, remember, you can target Screaming Nemesis with your own stuff. So if you want to Burst Lightning your opponent for damage, you might as well Burst Lightning the Screaming Nemesis and make the opponent never gain life, because the 2 damage still goes to the opponent. It'll just never ever gain life. Another really relevant play is Witchstalker Frenzy in your own Screaming Nemesis to deal 5 damage to your opponent, and turn Witchstalker Frenzy into a 1 mana deal 5, which is also really, really gross. Kills Screaming Nemesis, but often kills your opponent as well. Speaking of Witchstalker Frenzy, it is a 4 mana instant. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature that attacked this turn. It deals 5 damage to target creature. So we're going to be attacking with a lot of creatures. We have a lot of creatures. This is a way to get big things out of the way. It is just a really solid card. Also, that combo of Screaming Nemesis is gross. As far as the sideboard goes, we're playing 2 Lithomantic Barrage. Really good against the Dimir deck and the different white decks, being able to deal 5 damage to a white or blue creature or planeswalker. We're playing 4 Torch the Tower, a really good answer to the white Enduring, but also just a solid answer to other aggressive decks. Playing 3 Twisted Fealty for those big, stupid demons. Playing 3 Urbrass Forge for decks that answer our aggression easier than other decks. And so you're able to play this on turn 3 and have it go really long, and it's really hard to answer. The 4th Witchstalker Frenzy for decks that have a lot of blockers that Witchstalker Frenzy can kill. And 2 Sunspine Links, a 4 mana 5/4. Players can't gain life, damage can't be prevented. And when Sunspine Links enters, it deals damage each player equal to the number of non-basic lands that player controls. Really good against decks that are looking to gain life. Really good against decks that don't play a lot of basics like Domain. But that is Mono Red Aggro in Standard. If you liked this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Check me out on social medias. Links are above me and in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.